Good evening, everyone. Today, for the Wallingford Planning and Zoning Commission for Monday, July 8th, 2024, 7 o'clock. I'd like to first call the meeting to order. And first meeting of on the agenda is Pledge Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call for the commissioners. We have Brian Rivard to my far right, Jeff Cohan, James Fitzsimmons to my left, Steve Allenson, Dave Parent, Joe Sanders, and then we have our recording secretary, Cheryl Ann Tooby, and our town planner, Kevin Pagini. First order of business is to consider the June 10th, 2024 minutes. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes of the June 10th, 2024 meeting as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor by signifying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We have 4 public hearing items. First one is a re-subdivision 8-30G, Sunwood Development Corp., 1136 Durham Road, application 102-24. Mr. Secretary, can you read the public legal notice? I'm going to, yeah, as the applicants come up. Can you read the legal notice and all correspondence received? At tonight's hearing, the first applicant, we will not be acting on it, but we will be listening to the application and any public comments. The second item, which is a special permit for excavation and filling of land loss and Found Ventures LLC, 8 Mansion Road, application 407-24. There will be no action on today. Number 3, zoning text amendment, zoning map, and zoning text of YLB, application 901-24, we will be hearing. And the last applicant is special permit car wash to a dealer town yard, one source towing and repair, Como 130 Dudley Ave, which is application 408-24. We will not be hearing today. So number 2 and number 4 we will not be hearing, and number 1 we will not be acting on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Number 102-24, re-subdivision request for Sunwood Development Corp. For a 13-lot subdivision under Connecticut Statute 8-30G, located at 1136 Durham Road, RU-40 Residential District. Excuse me while I get through this stack. We have a document entitled Sunwood Development Corp., CGS, Section 830G, application for re-subdivision, 1136 Durham Road, Wallingford, Connecticut, with a date on it of July 8th, 2024, approximately 28 pages. We have the application for re-subdivision approval, date of receipt, June 7th, 2024. We have a memorandum to the Wallingford Planning and Zoning Commission from Hinckley, Allen, and Snyder, LLP, dated June of 2024, Ray, affordable housing need in Wallingford and surrounding towns. We have a sightline analysis entitled, quote, The Cozy Corner, an 8-30G subdivision, end quote, dated June 6th, 2024. We have the subdivision plans dated, it looks to be June 6, 2024. We have an interoffice memorandum from Scott Shipman, Senior Engineer, to Kevin Pagini, Town Planner, dated June 26, 2024. Correspondence from Kevin Pagini, Town Planner, to Sunwood Development Corp., dated June 24th, 2024. We have a certificate of mailing sent by Sunwood Development, date stamped June 25th, 2024. Email correspondence, I believe it's to Robert Wiederman from Allison Kapuscinski. Date is not on it. It starts with, "Good morning, Bob. I wanted to let you know." Email correspondence from Bob Wiedemann to Allison Kapuscinski dated June 24th, 2024. Correspondence from Aaron O'Hare, Environmental Planner, to Sunwood Development Corp., dated June 27th, 2024. Email correspondence from Amy Wiedemann to the Planning and Zoning Department and Kevin Pagini, Town Planner, dated June 28th, 2024, enclosing a photograph of the signage. Memorandum from the Department of Engineering to the Planning and Zoning Commission, dated July 2nd, 2024. A revised sightline analysis plan dated July 1st, 2024. An application for redevelopment approval, supplemental materials, dated July 2nd, 2024. Revised exhibits, revised July 1st, 2024, of the layout and site plan. And I believe that is all.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Would you like to start?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commission members. I'm Attorney Tim Hollister with the firm of Hinckley, Allen, and Snyder in Hartford, representing the applicant Sunwood Development Corp. It's been a few years since I've been before this commission. Nice to see you all. With me tonight are Bob Wiedemann, who is a principal of Sunwood Development.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Is that better? Okay, sorry, I thought I was close enough. And with me tonight is Bob Wiedemann, a principal of Sunwood Development Corp. To my far left, Chris Giuliano, professional engineer, Giuliano Associates in Wallingford. And to my immediate left, Gina Musinski, Fuss and O'Neill in Manchester, Connecticut, who is a transportation engineer working with Mark Vertucci, also a professional engineer. A couple of housekeeping items. I agree with the list of documents that the Secretary read. So you have our June 7th, 2024 application package. I note that that includes a copy of the wetlands approval that we received on May 1st. The supplemental materials package is dated July 2nd, and that was e-filed with town staff last week. We've confirmed the publication compliance, published notices, and the mailing was accomplished by Mr. Wiedemann and his office. I've turned in, we have slides, and I have a thumb drive here, which I will leave for the record, but you have in front of you a hard copy of the slides that we will be referring to during the presentation. Our expectation is that we will not finish the hearing tonight. We'll be back here on August 12th. I would note that this application was originally filed almost identical to what's before you tonight back in January, but then was withdrawn, I believe, in April, because we just decided at that point that we were working cooperatively with the Wetlands Commission to address stormwater and a lot of items regarding the site plan. So it was withdrawn and then refiled on June 7th. We have to date received some staff comments, but not all. I believe the police chief was away and is now back. So one thing we will not be able to do is provide a comprehensive response to staff comments, but presumably we will be able to do that when we reconvene in August. Now, I'm going to try to advance the slides. Are those coming up on anybody's screen besides myself? Good, okay, you can see that. So the subject property, 1136 Durham Road, 3.5 acres, pretty close to the Durham Road and Grebe Road intersection. Previously, it was improved with a single-family residence, which has since been demolished, but there are two barns that remain. The general neighborhood is two cul-de-sac communities at Fairlawn Drive and Killen Road. The I-91 ramp to Barnes Road is about 1.5 miles away, and the property is zoned RU40. So the current development plan is to re-subdivide the property into 13 individual lots. The lot sizes are shown on the plans. They range from about 5,000 to about 29,000, but the proposal is, this is not rental apartments, it is single-family home on each lot. The access to all the lots would be through a new road called Kyle Court, and that is designed as a cul-de-sac. The plans at this point, the July 1st revision reflects a variety of revisions that were requested by town staff, including a redesign of the stormwater management area and the realignment and redesign of the intersection of Grebe Road and Durham Road, and Ms. Basinski and Mr. Giuliano will describe those in more detail. Each home will be 2 stories with 3 bedrooms, and we've given you in the package at pages 5, 6, and 7 the model elevations, and we have 2 unit types. One is called Ascot Colonial, which is there, which is approximately just over 2,000 square feet, and the other is called Federal Colonial, which is approximately 1,500 square feet, and floor plans are included in the submission. As I think you know, this re-subdivision is filed under General Statutes 830G as a so-called set-aside development, because the applicant's intent is that 4 of the homes will be restricted for 40 years to moderate income households. As you know, 830G provides that if a proposed residential development like this one will preserve at least 30% of the proposed units for 40 years to households earning 80% or 60% of the lower of statewide or area median income, which in this case at this time is approximately a range of $72,000 to $97,000 annually, then the Zoning Commission can only deny the application if it receives evidence that the development plan will cause a substantial public health and safety concern that clearly outweighs the town's and the regional need for additional lower-cost housing units and cannot be addressed by reasonable changes. And that's the basic standard. Obviously, we can go into more explanation in detail if you wish at this time. So in other words, the difference between the re-subdivision plan and the underlying regulations is not a basis for denial unless that difference is a health or safety concern. The applicant at this point proposes to sell the homes, but I note for the record that any property owner has the right under state statute to convert to rental, so that option is available depending on market rate conditions post-construction. And as an aside, as I think you know, across the country, so-called rent-to-sale units are becoming quite popular in the marketplace as a partial response to the great need for affordable housing. Sales prices would be, under current conditions, in the range of about $239,000 to $352,000, depending on 60% or 80%. If they were rental units, the monthly rents would be in a range of $1,637 to $2,240 per month. And as is required of 830G, applications. We have an affordability plan in our original June submission that sets out the standard rules for administering affordable units and making sure they're rented to qualifying households and that the rent and the utilities are set appropriately. We also submitted what we call the Affordable Housing Needs Memo, which is a comprehensive look at the need for affordable housing in Wallingford, in the region, in the state of Connecticut, and to some extent nationally. In 2023, Wallingford on the so-called 10% list compiled annually by the Connecticut Department of Housing is at 4.2%, which is, I will say, sort of middle of the pack statewide, but it does mean that Wallingford is subject to 830G applications. There is a need for additional units. The 2016 Plan of Conservation and Development and the town's 2022 Affordable Housing Plan both recognize the need for affordable housing, and in particular, one of the statistics that I would point out is the 2022 Affordable Housing Plan confirms that 40% approximately of renters in Wallingford and 24% of homeowners in Wallingford are cost burdened, meaning that they spend annually more than 30% of their income on housing, which is something that housing advocates try to avoid. And that plan also acknowledges that housing costs exceed generally what is affordable for teachers, food and service, preparation workers, transportation workers, and other similar occupations. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Giuliano to review the existing conditions and the proposed site plan. Chris?
Thank you. For the record, my name is Christopher Giuliano. I'm a licensed land surveyor and professional engineer with the firm of Giuliano Associates. I maintain an office at 405 Main Street in the Yalesville section of town. I'm going to begin on slide 8, which is a copy of our survey of the existing conditions of the property. Property was surveyed back in 2023 when we began the project. And just to give you a little background on this and orientation, both Grebe Road and Durham Road are on the right side of the map. The 3.5 acres fans out to the west from there. This is basically a remainder piece from an earlier subdivision, Fairlawn Farms. Property is gently sloped, basically from the rear of the property down to Grebe Road and Durham Road. The low point on the property is in the southeast corner. Moving on to slide 9, which is the subdivision map showing how the property will be divided into the 13 residential lots running around the proposed cul-de-sac, which is Kyle Court. Typically, we would show all the easements on this plan as well, but given the size of the property and the detail that was needed, we actually created a second sheet, and both the subdivision and this easement map will end up being filed should this property or this project be approved by this commission. So basically these two sheets get to be used together. Again, showing the 13 lots. Lot 13, which will have our detention area as part of that lot, not as a separate homeowners association parcel or open space. There will be an association that will be responsible for that maintenance, but ownership will be with respect to lot 13. As I said, slide 10 is our easement map, shows the various easements, including snow storage, storm drainage, sight line, electrical. So all the information is there, and as I said, that will be filed as well. We next get to slide 11, which is basically site development plan, which shows how these lots will be developed, basically with the grading and drainage. Again, we're not making major changes to the grade. We're working with the property. Runoff will continue to flow from the rear of the property down towards Grebe Road and Durham Road. We do have a set of catch basins at the beginning of Kyle Court, so we will be collecting the storm drainage there. It'll basically flow between lots 12 and 13 through a 30-foot easement. It'll then hit a manhole, which is basically a diversion unit, and in that manhole we are sending the first 1.3 inches of rain into an oil water separator, and into a sand filter. As you all already know, this area is in the Watershed Protection District, so we have a couple of additional elements that we have to incorporate into our stormwater manual, or our stormwater treatment train. Basically, in essence, we have to take the dirtiest part of the water, the first 1.3 inches, or also known as the first flush. We have to treat it, we have to put it through a sand filter so that it can be cleaned and then basically be infiltrated back into the groundwater to preserve the watershed. The majority of the water will go into our standard detention basin. And what we did is we did a bunch of soil testing in this area early on, and we actually have very high infiltration rates. So as part of the storm drainage, working with wetlands, working with Scott Shipman at Water and Sewer, and working with Allison Kapuzinski, the town engineer, we've designed this to maximize the amount of infiltration into the ground. Therefore, not only are we reducing peak runoff flows coming off this property, we're also reducing the volume of water that would come off this property. As part of the analysis, the town engineer had us look at the varying watersheds, and there are 4 on this small piece of property, to make sure that water that did run to the north onto the northern abutters, we reduce that peak, we reduce that volume. Same with the abutters to the south. So if you go through and look at the drainage report that was submitted, we have a full summary in there, and in every case, we are reducing stormwater runoff. God bless you. For all storm events up to and including the 100-year event. As with all new subdivisions and all new development, town looks to have underground utilities put in, so we'll have underground electric, which we're going to be bringing off the existing poles along Grebe Road and Durham Road. For water, we'll be extending the water main down from Killen Road. That's the closest water main available in this area, so we'll be extending it down, installing a new hydrant along Grebe Road, and then bringing the water up and through into the new cul-de-sac, which will terminate in a hydrant at the end of the cul-de-sac. I believe that's lots 7 and 8. Sanitary sewer is available in both Durham Road and Grebe Road, and we'll be connecting basically right into Grebe Road at the intersection where our new road is going to be connecting into Grebe Road. Stormwater from the houses will be discharged to grade, and again be collected and then routed into our detention basin. So, unique thing about this small project and working with wetlands, and I'm on slide 13, is we actually ended up breaking this up for our erosion control into 3 separate phases. The Wetlands Commission, especially the environmental planner, was concerned on how we were going to be taking care of stormwater through the various phases on how this project would be developed. So our first phase is basically to install a temporary sediment trap, our construction entrance, and what this will do is as the property gets cleared and gets developed, we'll be stopping all the water before it can enter the roadway. We'll be treating it, allowing it to infiltrate, and controlling it on site. So then once we get that all set up, we'll move into the construction of the road, which is on slide 14. As you can see, the temporary sediment basin is still there. It is now existing contours. We'll end up digging out a portion of the detention basin. We'll be basically digging down about 2 feet to allow us a little bit of extra volume for any stormwater flows that we will be encountering as we start putting in the roadbed and the binder course for Kyle Court. As part of this phase, we will be bringing in the utilities and stubbing them out beyond the proposed right-of-way, so that way we won't have to go back into the proposed road for any kind of house connection. And finally, on slide 15 is where we actually start developing each individual lot. So we'll have a road installed to binder course, basically be able to eliminate a lot of the erosion potential that could enter into Grebe Road. And at this point, each lot will be developed. Each lot will have its own construction entrance, Each lot will have its own temporary sediment pile, and everything will controlled on a small basis. And at this point, not only will the sediment trap or the sand filter be installed, but also the full detention basin. So everything will be online and working before any of the houses are constructed. As the last part of my particular portion of this project, we are asked to look at turning movements onto the new road, around the cul-de-sac, and then leaving the project. This is very important, especially with respect to the fire services. Anytime we build a new driveway or a new road, I get a call from the fire marshal asking me to take a look at the turning movements to make sure that his truck, especially the aerial engine one, I believe it's called, the aerial truck, can get in and out of the property. And that, along with the standard delivery trucks, I can say that anything coming off of Grebe Road is able to make the turn into the proposed road. We can get around the cul-de-sac shown on slide 17 and then back out again onto the public highway. I will note for the record that getting from Durham Road onto Grebe Road, which is an existing condition, fire truck has a little bit of an issue with that, but that is currently because of the road geometry as it exists today. I did talk with the fire marshal about this. He is aware of it. And we had a very, very frank conversation about that issue. So I know he's spoken to his commanders and truck drivers and exactly how they negotiate that now to see how they'll handle it in the future. All right. And nothing that we're doing with Kyle Court impacts this from a safety or health standpoint at all. So, and with that, I will turn it over to Gina, who will go through the traffic analysis.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gina Musinski, and I'm a transportation engineer with Fuss & O'Neill out of Manchester, Connecticut. The address is 146 Hartford Road in Manchester, Connecticut, for the record. Before you, you have 2 memorandums in addition to 1 letter that are signed by a combination of both myself and Mark Vertucci, professional engineer, professional transportation operations engineer. Just to kind of summarize the 3 total letters in front of you, you have 1 memorandum that reviews traffic volumes, sight lines, and development access, and summarized our total findings in a letter that's dated March 12th, 2024. You also should have in front of you a review following the initial memorandum of the roadway realignment, and that is summarized in a memo dated March 26th, 2024. And the final piece in front of you is a subsequent response to comments letter to respond to staff comments, and that's dated June 7th, 2024. So in front of you today is just a aerial image of the site location. It's a 3.49 acre site with Grebe Road located south, with Durham Road located south and Grebe Road located to the east, and single family residential homes surrounding to the north and west. Just to orient the aerial image on this screen, north is pointed slightly to the right. So the proposed development includes 13 single-family homes that are accessed via an access way that is 300 feet in length approximately. As part of our analysis, our team conducted automatic traffic recorder counts for the neighboring roadway network and overall determined that there are very low volumes and speeds on the adjacent roadway network. Following the review, we also utilized industry standard Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation manual rates, which is a nationwide standard for trip generation. And the proposed 13 single-family homes are an extremely low traffic generator and will generate 1 vehicle coming or going every 4 to 5 minutes during the peak hour periods. In the morning and afternoon. So overall, that generation will not be noticeable to the adjacent roadway network, and the proposed realignment of Grebe Road at Durham Road will also improve circulation. So the existing intersection is a Y-shaped intersection, which lends itself to higher turning speeds onto Grebe Road. So our team did review a variety of options to reduce the overall vehicle speeds, one of which was the consideration for an all-way stop control condition, which includes reviewing volume warrants and whatnot as referenced by the nationwide Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices standards. This intersection, the volumes are too low to meet the warrants for an all-way stop condition. So with that in mind, the team reviewed the appropriation of having a roadway realignment, and that was determined to be the best alternative. So the proposed realignment will generate a 90-degree T-style intersection, which encourages lower speeds and makes it physically restricting for a car to navigate that turn anything faster than 15 miles per hour. In general, the improvement should be made independent of the proposed development, as it does provide a safer standard for circulation in that area. As a part of our analysis, we also reviewed sightline distances, and there is adequate intersection sight distance from Kyle Court looking both left and right onto Grebe Road. So that is the distance from a vehicle stopped at Kyle Court looking left northbound or right southbound on Kyle Court for that design speed. So it would be the 15 miles per hour when looking right and the 26 miles per hour as indicated on the automatic traffic recorder looking left. Those are the speeds at which a vehicle that's stopped at that road would look either way and determine if they have adequate space to exit the site safely. In addition, we reviewed stopping sight distance, which is based on the vehicle approaching Kyle Court on Grebe Road and seeing a vehicle turning out of Kyle Court and stopping safely and effectively. In both cases, there's adequate intersection sight distance and stopping sight distance. In addition, one area of concern that was brought up is the proximity of the access road to the Durham at Grebe Road intersection, which is approximately located 107 feet south of the proposed accessway. It is recognized that this will fall below the 250-foot separation subdivision regulation. However, the separation should be largely dependent on speeds and volumes of the adjacent roadway network. So in perspective, if you have a roadway with lower volumes and speeds, you would anticipate a lower separation distance requirement, and a roadway with higher volumes and speeds, you would expect a higher separation distance requirement. So although Kyle Court is proposed as a public roadway, the accessway itself will operate very similar to a site driveway due to the low volumes and speeds providing service for those 13 single-family homes. So in general, that 107 feet available is sufficient as evidenced from the stopping sight distance and intersection sight distance requirements. So the proposed intersection realignment will provide for safer operations for all road users independent of this development, and the proposed Kyle Court location will operate safely upon implementation of that realignment. In addition, for the record as well, our team is currently working on scheduling a meeting with the town engineer, the town planner, and the police chief to review the town engineer's comments on the accessway, and we do intend to have met with them and will provide a review at the August meeting. Thank you for your time. I'm going to turn it back over to Tim.
Thank you. That's what we have to present tonight. As I mentioned earlier, we do have some additional comments from town staff that we will be receiving, reviewing, and responding to. In my opening remarks, I was remiss in not thanking Mr. Couch for the use of his laptop and Mr. Pagini for his assistance in getting us to tonight, but that is what we have to present, and we're happy to answer your questions or take public comment, whatever you'd like.
Thank you. Bring it back to the commission for some questions. Any commissioners have anything? Mr. Fitzsimmons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I must say, it's nice to see you again, Mr. Hollister, because I haven't seen you in a while. what's interesting to me, and I know you're starting the public hearing, which is your right you paid the application fee, you submitted the paperwork to the town, and as I say, and I've sat up here, the clock is now started. Because this is you filed under the Connecticut law, 830G, I just want to ask, the timing is, being the clock started, it's a calendar, so my understanding of 830G, but I called the town planner and said, when does this have to begin and end with the commission, before I even get to my questions? Through you, Mr. Chair. Sorry.
65 days to open the hearing, so they've opened the hearing within, I believe, a month. 35 days to complete the hearing once opened. 35 days to complete the hearing once opened, 65 days of extensions, and then 65 days after the hearing closed, the commission must render a decision. Want me to say the first couple lines again?
Yeah, repeat that for me, please.
65 days to open the hearing, so they're within that time frame right now. 35 days to complete the hearing once opened. The applicant gets 65 days of extensions to use however they choose. And then 65 days after the close of the hearing, the commission must render a decision.
Okay, thank you. So that would bring us sometime into the fall?
Yeah.
By using your numbers. Thank you very much. The reason I asked that is because I wrote a comment, when I was reviewing the package this weekend. This is not normal. It's not normal to appear before us without having had sign off on a memo from the town engineer, sign off for this commission to review from the chief of police, the fire chief, and the town planner. And I know you just said in your comments you do plan to have a meeting with the town planner, the town engineer, and the police chief. So it concerns me that you're starting the clock, your choice, but now the clock's running on us. It's running on us, the town, us, the commission, because you haven't come to us with a final plan. So I just want to make sure that I can't stress to you enough, and I've been up here a few years, this is not normal. And I know, but it's not my application, it's your application. But with that, I do have a couple questions.
Well, Mr. Frizzer, can I address that point before you move on? There's a couple reasons for the timing, and I appreciate your concerns. The first is this application, pretty much identical to what we just reviewed, was filed in January, and then it was withdrawn, it was put on hold. So the plans before you incorporate a whole host of staff comments. I think I'm correct in saying at this point it's really only the intersection that Ms. Basinski just described that really has to be resolved, and a date is being set to resolve that issue. So that's number one. Second is we're under the normal subdivision, re-subdivision rules. So there's nothing different about the schedule under 830G than it would be if this were a non-830G subdivision. So for those reasons, we didn't think we were pushing the envelope, but as Mr. Pagini just described, if necessary, we can extend up to a total of 90 days if we need to. So no one, this commission will not be rushed in any way. So thank you for that.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that response through you, Mr. Chair. But I think it's very fair to put on the record, this is unusual because normally I would have we would have a 2 or 3 page memo of the town engineer with, her comments. The chief of police in the past has sent us commission comments. We don't have those. So what we have is what you've submitted in the spring. If I recall, and I don't miss many meetings, you never got here because
Right.
you withdrew before it got to
It was
the
on file and withdrawn before.
commission. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is your first time in front of us. But yes, I think I will acknowledge when you talked about the correspondence that some of the documentation goes back to March of this year. So,
And we did not want to put it in front of you at that time with so many things in flux
Right.
at the Wetlands Commission. So
I would prefer to be very upfront. All right.
Understood.
So with that being said, I do have a couple comments / questions, but I wanted to make it very clear at the beginning that the clock has now started. I didn't, in all the documentation I looked through, did I miss in here where you describe how wide Grebe Road is? I didn't see it in any of your documentation. I mean, I know because I drive on Grebe, but for the next meeting, could you make sure your traffic analysis includes the roadway width of Grebe? This past Saturday, somebody in Grebe recently celebrated a big graduation, and I took my wife out. We were out, and she said, "Oh, let me go see the project," because I said I'd go look at some things. And this graduation party was so large, and there were so many cars in the road parked, which that's a police matter, not my matter, but it made travel and traffic on Grebe to be difficult. And all I can envision is, my road where I live is much wider, right? And so that is one of our most narrow streets in town that I've traveled, right? So, and I happen to be there, and I've driven by, I've seen the clearing, I've seen, I know the area, so I know the area. So, knowing that, that's probably the issue here, right? I think I do need to see something, this is through you, Mr. Chairman, to the town planner, I do need to see something from our town departments. I need to see a letter from the police chief. I need to see a letter, a memorandum from the fire chief. I know someone in the fire department has signed off on fire truck access onto your road, but it is getting there. And I wondered if you could, someone talked about, I think it was the last speaker, talked about fire truck access from Durham Road onto Grebe, and you said that the fire department's aware of that. So I don't see that in writing. Could you explain that further to me during your comments, when you talked about that? Like the fire department is aware of that.
Okay. Again, Christopher Giuliano, Mr. Fitzsimmons.
Yep.
I usually get a call from Brian Schock. He's the fire marshal. On all my projects, since he's come on board, it's actually been a very good working relationship with the fire department on this. So he has templates that he places on, whether it's a site plan, a road, driveway, whatever it is for whatever project. If he has any question, he either emails me or calls me, asks me his question, says, can you look at this to make sure that our fire truck can get onto the property, driveway, road, whatever. And in this case, I went and looked at it for him because I do have the measurements for his truck. And we went through and we did an analysis, and that is basically on slide 17, turning movement analysis for the fire truck. And his big concern, getting into Kyle Court from the existing road and then getting around the cul-de-sac. Cul-de-sac standard size based on town regulation. Thought the question was a little odd, but we did it. And we can get the fire truck onto Kyle Court from Grebe Road, whether it's heading north or south. Get it around the cul-de-sac and out. So we can get it into this project without a problem. He's agreed with that. I don't know if he ever issued a memo to that. I do know, I believe it was last week, he had one of my employees, when we were dropping off something, they did see him. He was trying to get a meeting with Kevin. I don't know if they actually ever met, so I don't know if it's been discussed. The issue, as I explained it, and being very upfront with the commission, is an existing condition exists to get their largest fire truck, which is their aerial truck, from Durham Road heading away from I-91, so coming towards Grebe Road and taking that right-hand turn. It's a very tight existing radius from Durham on to Grebe. So he will have some trouble, so they will not stay in the right lane, take a turn, and stay in the right lane. And that's the big concern with any kind of turning movement, is to keep the vehicle in its lane. Now, with respect to emergency services, you caveat that. They'll drive wherever they need to, however they need to get to an emergency. They understand that. I understand that. Town staff understand, the rest of town staff understands that as well. But we still check it, and we still point it out. Now, this is an existing town road. This is a subdivision, or a re-subdivision, but a subdivision nonetheless. An as-of-right matter. And I believe, and I'll leave the legal side of this to Attorney Hollister, but my understanding is that the road as it exists is as it exists. We are not responsible for the existing condition. Okay? We do what we can with respect to our project, but I don't believe the burden is on us to correct a situation as it exists now. And I can tell you, at Durham Road, Grebe Road is approximately 26 feet wide at that intersection, and it does neck down to about 18 feet. It is considered a rural road, similar to Cook Road and some of the others on the east side as well. I will get you a drawing that shows you the various distances, and I'll get that into Kevin before our next meeting, so you gentlemen all have that information as well. But I know from doing the survey, we've looked at that as well.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Part of the question, because my concerns are, quite frankly, sightline, traffic, public safety. Can you tell me why Kyle Court is being proposed as a public road versus a private way? Like, is there an advantage to you or an advantage to the town? I just...
In all reality...
Teach me something.
There's no difference in how we design a road if you call it private versus you call it public. The difference is in the maintenance. If it's private, it would be up to the homeowners association to plow, maintain, fix, and everything else. Versus public, it's under town ownership. The town will take care of the road, they'll plow it, etc. It's basically an ownership and maintenance issue. Doesn't change anything whether it's private or whether it's public. We still build it to town spec cross-section, town spec width. We still have to have the sidewalk. There's no advantage really to the developer to make it a private road. And it's actually a disadvantage to the 13 families that will live there, that they're going to end up having to take care of it until such time as they don't, and the town has to come in and take it over. And that's happened in the past.
Okay.
So public road, it protects both sides, basically.
Okay. I guess if I could, and this goes back to the comments I made at the beginning, and I will wrap up my comments. You know, as you note in your memo to the commission dated July 2nd, paraphrasing from page 1, it says, "We have not yet received a memorandum from the town engineer, nor have we." And then you said in her preliminary email, she expressed her belief that the proposed entrance to Kyle Court is not appropriate because it is less than 250 feet from Durham Road, Grebe Road intersection, as required by subdivision regulation, blah, blah, blah. With an approximately 107-foot separation between Kyle Court and the Durham Road, Grebe Road intersection, the applicant agrees that the proposed plan does not meet the 255-foot standard. During your presentation, you or someone, one of the three of you, used terms like adequate sight distance and sufficient, but it does not meet the standard. I think what concerns me here is this roadway and connecting to this, this area does present a significant public safety factor, which is why I'd like to see sign-off or comments from the engineer, the police chief, and the fire marshal. I think you have correctly said, because right after you said it doesn't meet the standard, you then remind the commission in bold italics, however, Connecticut law is clear that noncompliance with underlying zoning requirements is not a valid basis for denial of an application filed pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 830G. I would be on the record. I am in favor of non-market rate housing in the right place, and I think Wallingford does have a need for this in areas where it's supported by transit districts and services. I think for me, while we continue with this application, knowing that we're going to have to continue it, my issues are related to the fact that probably the preliminary review by the town engineer, being out on the road, and just knowing that the sightline issue has got to be addressed better than adequate. I'm expecting something better than adequate when you come back in August, but I do think the separation requirements for intersection, you also told us in your memo, should be treated more like a driveway versus a road. It's a road. So if you're applying for a road, it should be treated like a road. The should be, could be, words matter here. So that's why I said, is it a private road, a public road? I know you're thinking it's going to be 13 houses, but we do have our requirements for a reason. I know sometimes in this situation, we've got to put some of the requirements aside because it is an 830G, but that would mean, for me, public safety is a primary concern. Matching and meeting the public safety requirements for the town. That's a narrow road. It's a narrow road, and this is a lot of activity with an intersection that's non-signal, no stop, there's a stop sign, but Durham Road, there's not. So, I mean, I don't live there, but I'm very familiar with the area, so I get it, and I just want to be on record at the very beginning of this saying that's where I see the issue here. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just to further your point, I completely understand where you're coming from. So we do recognize that we are non-compliant with the 250-foot spacing. So where that is coming from to alter that standard is based on the volumes on the existing roadway, in addition to the very minimal trip generation associated with it, in addition to that roadway realignment. So the roadway realignment will cause vehicles to slow down when taking that turn and improve the overall safety of the intersection and provide adequate intersection site and stopping site distance. I do understand your concern and will further that with our conversation with the town engineer as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Fitzsimmons, just to put it in a little bit of perspective, if this were an actual driveway to, say, a condominium development, we wouldn't even be having this conversation about the 107 feet. It's a subdivision regulation, but we could have more condominiums on this property than 13 homes, and this issue would go away. So it comes down to whether low volume is safe versus a driveway with higher volume. The regulation of 250 feet doesn't make a lot of sense from an engineering standpoint when the volumes are so low. As I said, we could have more, double, maybe triple the number of homes if we went condos. And we could have, I believe, that driveway could be within 50 feet of the intersection because that's a zoning regulation. And we could possibly bypass that, although I wouldn't go that far. But just to put it in perspective for you and the public, it's all about the speed, the volumes, and what makes it safe.
Agree.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Mr. Rivard?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Two questions. First, I agree with Mr. Fitzsimmons. We do need to address non-market rate housing where appropriate, and I understand this is an 830G. 2 points related to safety that I picked up on. One was the fire truck issue. I think you explained it a little bit more there, which is good. But I want to say, I think the risk level to our citizens goes up when you put more in the local area. I'm not condoning the fact that we may have a existing deficiency in an R40 zone, which assumes a rural landscape, but the risk and safety concern to the public goes up because you're putting many, many more residents local to that risky situation. So that's my perspective on that, unless someone can tell me that more people in a risky zone reduces the risk. It's going to be hard for me to understand that. The second item I would say is I look through the checklist of R40 zone requirements, and not a single one, according to the assessment, is met. I understand we're presenting this, as an 830G, but I think the public concern around this is everything around this area has been designed for a rural setting. Small, thin roads, lack of signage, that sort of thing. And I think if I were in the neighborhood, I'm not, and I understand, we have very limited legal scope to deny such a situation. I think the concern is safety risk increases when you force fit a higher density project into a landscape and area that it wasn't meant for. So that's something that I would have to understand, through the discussions with our own staff, why this risk level is down. And then the other one, I think those risky situations, traffic-wise, could easily be resolved if the applicant would simply just reduce the number of homes and create some larger footprints in this area. You could increase the sightline. But that's my own perspective. I understand we're strictly bound based on the state regulation, but I think safety concerns increase when you add increased citizens who need to be kept safe. That's my position.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I agree completely with Commissioner Fitzsimmons and Mr. Rivard. And I will just add that the realignment of the road, I think, could be improved a little bit to make this a little safer. So maybe for the next meeting, and I know you're going to be meeting with the town engineer to discuss all these issues, but, that was the first major concern I had was, that alignment, I think, might be done a little better to ease some of the sight lines and, the number of seconds it takes to make these turns. So, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Allenson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of quick questions. I'm looking at the letter, I believe it's from Erin O'Hare, our environmental planner. She talks about the inland wetlands condition of approval number 1 that required a final plan set to be submitted within 2 months of the May 1st approval, which fits the timeline for this application. But I guess my question is really for Mr. Pagini, is if we're missing all of these pieces, and we're talking about sight lines, and we're talking about issues that might change the underlying plans, how is this a final plan in compliance with the inland and wetland condition of approval?
I believe this was brought to the Corporation Council, and she had stated that any of the plan sets that were and conditions that were approved during wetlands can be addressed at a later time and just given final plans after planning and zoning is set. So everything that they needed to address was addressed at the time, and anything further that we change can be addressed with an administrative approval, according to Corporation Council.
Okay, so just so that I understand, Corporation Council is advising that as long as the plans are in and the changes are made in accordance with conditions of approval, that's okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Just wanted to go on to the supplemental materials that were submitted by the applicant. There's a memorandum dated July 2nd that Commissioner Fitzsimmons referenced. It talks about the understanding that the proposed plan doesn't meet the 250-foot standard. And then it goes on to cite Brenmore Properties versus the Planning and Zoning Commission, a 2017 case, which had to deal with a municipal road ordinance. And it also cites Wisniewski, which talks about the 830G. And it talks about how it has to result in substantial public health issues for a denial. It has to clearly outweigh the need for affordable housing. And then the language in these cases says that the concern cannot be addressed by reasonable changes to the plan. And I'm looking at the maps of the road, and I heard Commissioner Rivard's comments about making some minor changes to the plan, and our town planner talked about the final plan can change. So I guess my question is, to make that 250-foot difference, how is that not a reasonable change?
Can you address the geometry?
It's just something to think about. You don't have to answer me now.
Yeah, no.
You're coming back.
I'm just trying to figure out which of the two of us is probably the traffic engineer better.
So along the site frontage, in order to comply to that 250 feet, it would go beyond the limits of the existing site. So we do not have that 250-foot space. In addition to that, with that is why we proposed the realignment. It's to improve the safety of that intersection, which will reduce the speeds entering and provide us with adequate intersection site distance and stopping site distance.
Thank you. Just for our town planner, can you please pass on to our town engineer my concern about that, and ask her if she can see if the numbers in engineering could be done with a reasonable change or not. Not that I doubt what you're saying to me, but we have our own engineer, and I'd like to have that looked at on both sides. My last question is, Mr. Giuliano, you brought my attention to the fire truck analysis. It's on slide 17. And I noticed that it's a cul-de-sac. My grandmother told me I can't call them dead ends. So you got to call them cul-de-sacs. And I've been on many cul-de-sacs in town, and there's actually one right around the corner from where I live. And there's always street parking in the cul-de-sacs. Always street parking in the cul-de-sacs. It being a public road, snow removal around the bends is going to create site issues and piling. My concern on that is we really need this memo from the fire department. We really need this analysis, because cars parked, snow removal to make it safe. And I know this is just a computer engineered drawing of where the fire truck seems to be making its radius in here. And our guys are very creative on an emergency and getting where they need to go. But geometrically, I'm not seeing it. So I really, really need to see that memo. And if there's anything that can be done on your end in conjunction with the fire department to show safe turning radiuses with the possibility of parked cars, or how you're going to restrict street parking on that public road. I don't even know if that's possible. I would be interested to hear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanders.
Thank you. Mr. Hollister, could I have you move to slide 1 for just a moment? Appreciate the graphic you threw on here, and
Which one?
actually, is that correct?
That's 2 and that's 3.
I'm looking at the one where there's the outline of the property superimposed over the aerial map,
That's 1.
where it shows the cul-de-sac.
Not that one?
It's on the site plans, actually. It's on the title page of the site plan for the Cozy Corner and 830G subdivision,
It's,
if you're able to locate that.
no, I think he's talking about my.
Just because as I look at that, I think that visual provides a really helpful impact to the challenge of access. And I'm a little bit concerned at what I hear, and perhaps I'm mishearing, but what I heard Ms. Mazinski say is that although we're asked on our end as a town there's a lot that 830G statutes prevent the town from looking at in terms of the regulations in the zoning district. Planning and Zoning Commission and our regulations in town aren't meant to be obstacles to development or property owners. And I think that's important to say. We're not here as obstacles. While 830G and affordable housing is important, to put a tremendous number of houses in to that place with that access seems a bit frustrating to the reasoning behind why the regulations exist in the first place. And I realize that technically that's possible with state law. I think as good neighbors and contributors to the community we all want to have, we do want to find the sweet spot between really how to navigate that. And I'm a bit concerned when I hear that basically the sections that we can look at that are there for safety and roadways, we should just overlook those too. And that's really what I'm hearing you say. I don't know if that's what you intend to say, but that's what I'm hearing, and that really concerns me.
That is certainly not the intent, and I apologize that that was the point that came across. In really what we were looking at is that proposed realignment is to improve the overall safety. And given the overall safety improvement and reducing the turning radius speeds, we're able to have a safer maneuver around each of those corners, entering onto Grebe Road as a whole, independent of this development. And part of that, we did review the intersection site distance and stopping site distance requirements, and given the very low volume on those roads and the low speeds that will be compliant with intersection site distance and stopping site distance requirements, they are within the state required criteria for those distances.
And if I can continue, Commissioner Sanders, not to get into the weeds or go back in history, but 830G exists. It was passed in the late 1980s because a commission appointed by Governor O'Neill conducted a 2-year-long review, and they found that multiple places in Connecticut, regulations, including dimensional regulations, which may have been adopted in good faith for good reasons, but were obstacles to the creation of higher density. I don't mean necessarily affordable, but sometimes that was the case, were being enforced to prevent multifamily housing from being constructed. And so there was a Blue Ribbon Commission that produced a Blue Ribbon Commission report, and they talked at length about vague and unsubstantiated reasons for denial of multifamily and affordable housing. Many of the regulations that they talked about were road dimensions. Commissioner Allison talked about the Brenmore case. That was my case. That was a case in which the town of Lisbon was insisting that, not exactly the layout, but 13 lots in the Brenmore case, where the town insisted that it be a 50-foot wide public right-of-way, which would have completely obliterated all the usable property. But the traffic engineer demonstrated as a safety measure that all that was needed was a 20-foot wide driveway, which is the standard minimum for fire trucks to get into the site. So it was the difference between 50 feet wide and 20 feet wide. It was no question that the applicant was not meeting the town road width standard, but the proof in the pudding was that it was completely unnecessary to serve the proposed subdivision. So this is the kind of the same debate that we're having. I completely appreciate everything that's been asked about. When we come back, we will give you hopefully more explanation, more graphics to delineate why this 107 feet with the realignment is completely safe, but we'll come back and we'll show you that next time.
I don't see things the same way that this is similar, but I would certainly echo Mr. Pagini. I'd echo Commissioner Allen's and the other concerns, but his request that we, I think, really take great care to not allow excessive risk by taking the regulations that exist in this area for a reason and just throwing them out. We really want to have the town engineer look into this and to have better understanding, so thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Parent.
Yeah, my question is a little more, or my comments are more general. And having served on the 3 town boards, I do not favor applications with a lot of conditions of approval. That's number one, because you know, it's almost, if you have an application maybe where there's only maybe 4 or 5, you know pretty much what you're going to get. And you know that all those questions, all those issues that may come up in construction have been resolved. That's number one. Number two, I personally have been in a situation where stuff was approved and I didn't know that it had approved, and it made my life very, very difficult for about 40 years. And so before anything gets approved, I've got to be sure that there's not going to be some resulting hardship to some person. And then when I read an application, and application seems to be kind of unusual, because as my brother commissioners have pointed out these things like that, but I said, when I see Allison see if I'm pronouncing it right, and Mr. Wiederman, like in some sort of conflict, I say, wait a minute, this does not sound good. And then when I find out, okay, well, maybe, so an argument to me that, well, you don't really need this much distance because you'll do this, and that's, if somebody can back that up by a firm engineering study, that's one thing. But to say, well, yeah, this is, adequate, what's adequate? So, again, I have not heard all the evidence in this case. You haven't even had a chance to present it. But I think that, I personally think you should do a withdrawal and another rework and get the, so you have a safe entrance. We have assured that we're assured that we have a safe entrance. I'm not going to want that place to later on be, a place, oh yeah, they have a lot of access, planning and zoning, let them do something that in a violation of regulations. That's the way I feel. And I see we have a large audience, and usually that comes up with arguments of Section 8 housing and property values, but this seems to be very much focused on a particular issue of public safety. And so in that case, and I say, I really think you need to do a rework on this. I really do. Again, I might not even be able to vote, but I really wouldn't want to vote unless I knew those things were resolved, and that the people that were sitting in the back row, well, there wouldn't be that many of them, and it would be a much calmer proceeding. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners before I go out to the public? Public, how many would like to come and speak? All right. I'm going to start on the right and work my way over this way. When you come up to the, raise your hand again? I didn't see who. Gentleman over here on the white, I guess. I'm going, yes. Just for the record, who you are, your address, and can we just keep it to really what's being spoke at with the planning and zoning regulations? Thank you.
The facts and only the facts? All right. My name is Jeff Rajunas. I live at 1125 Durham Road, kind of diagonal to the property that's being presented here, this project that's being presented. My credentials are I'm a professional engineer licensed in the state of Connecticut. So when I hear a study, an engineering study done like one that was presented today, where we're looking at sight lines and we're calculating velocities of cars based on speed limits on these roads, and then we look at regulations that are set, we understand in the engineering world that when we set regulations, we understand that there's a margin of safety that has to be incorporated into all of our calculations, okay? So if you do your calculations at the speed limit, yeah, okay, maybe 125 feet will work, but we live in the real world, and the real world is about keeping people safe, and therefore we put margins of safety on our engineering work to ensure that we keep the public safe. The 250 feet is probably, and I don't know it for a fact, but it's probably based on some sort of marginal calculation, okay? We have to understand that these roads, this Durham Road, if you look at the construction of the road as it comes over I-91, it's a much wider road. People drive according to perception. So if they're on a road, right, and it's wide and there's a lot of access, they're going to go a lot faster than they normally would in a narrow road. When you get up to the Grebe Road intersection, it narrows substantially and the road curves. So you combine that with 20, potentially 26 cars now entering into that intersection. We have 13 houses, 2 cars per household. Do the numbers, okay? This is not a safe condition, not for this environment. So if anybody's going to do any engineering studies, I'd like to see some, some calculations about looking at margins of safety and really looking at what's in the best interest of the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Oh, I'm not going to fight you over the mic, Dean. And I don't want him behind me either. Sorry, guys. Listen, I appreciate all you do. And I think you're all volunteer. I appreciate the time that you put into this and the decisions you have to make. Being a Board of Education member for 4 years, I know some of the crap you have to deal with, too. I know some of you probably live...
Before I get yelled at, they're already telling me.
Sorry. John Wooding, 1131 Durham Road.
Thank you.
Wallingford, Connecticut, 06492. Phone number... No, that's okay. Anyways, I have a lot that I want to say, but I'm going to try to keep it short tonight, and then maybe I'll say... We are going to have a public hearing next time, too, right?
Yeah, we will be continuing the
Okay.
public hearing.
All right. So I know in a meeting of the Planning and Zoning on Monday, May 9th, 2022, you all had a discussion about affordable housing, and Mr. Pagini noted in the discussion that Wallingford would need between 1,000 and 1,100 units in order to achieve that 10% goal that was set by, I guess, the state of Connecticut. Again, these laws go back to, or statutes go back to the late 80s, early 90s. But that would also assume that there were no other houses or units being built in the meantime. So in other words, it's a moving number. It's something that you're probably never going to achieve, or certainly we're not going to achieve in our lifetime. Not that anybody here disagrees that we need affordable housing in Wallingford. Listen, I have kids, I have grandkids that'll one day be looking for housing, and the housing costs are disgusting right now. But at that same meeting, Mr. Wiedemann also stated that there is affordable housing in Wallingford that is deed restricted, but that obviously shouldn't be the only goal. So I do have a few comments based on the meeting that you all had in May. Again, the number of units needed to meet the state goal is a moving target. The 830G statutes have been in place now for 30 years with no real results statewide, and I read some articles on many other towns dealing with the same things. They'll go up to 4.5% one year and then down to 4.2% the next year. Mr. Wiedemann was also a resource for part of this planning that you all were trying to do back in 2022. So I kind of feel there's a little bit of conflict of interest here, but maybe not. And I know that at that meeting and whatever other meetings that you had, which the public was not part of, there were areas identified in the town of Wallingford that would be ideal, as some of you had pointed out, for affordable housing. And by the way, I have to say this. We're spending a lot of time talking about affordable housing. If Mr. Wiedemann was so concerned about providing Wallingford with affordable housing, why doesn't he put 10 affordable housing units on the property and not just the state minimum? You know, this is not about affordable housing for him. This is about using the state statutes to cram as many houses as possible and have as high of a return as possible to make money. And I don't blame him. He's in business. It's a private developer. Of course, that's probably what he should be doing. The units in Cozy Corner identified as affordable housing will also have deed restrictions. And those owners will be limited as to what they can do and when they can do it with their homes. As town representatives, all I ask is that you look out for what's best for the interests of Wallingford. What makes sense for Wallingford? Do we need affordable housing? Yes. Where can we do it? Maybe involve the public, identify areas, encourage development of those areas. Let's get something going in the town of Wallingford, rather than spending all this time putting 4 units in an R40 zone among 13 other houses with all these traffic concerns that there is no, definitive argument that this is going to be safe when all is said and done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Dean Toscano, 1128 Durham Road. I'm going to just talk with the Grebe Road situation. We all know how narrow it is. Add to that snow. That becomes a 1-lane road, if that, in the wintertime. You're not going to get a fire truck down that road to make that turn in there, and they're going to add more people, which are going to be more emergency calls. So that's my big concern is that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next over here. Anybody on this side over here? No? Going once? I'm going this middle. Sure.
Okay, hi. Thank you. Jamie Traeger, 40 Fairlawn. Obviously, you can see I'm a mom. My major issue, like everybody seems to have, is the safety. And for me, the word adequate is not adequate when I'm talking about safety. Especially with, got that one, I've got a 3.5-year-old, and I got a new driver on the road, which anytime he leaves the house is terrifying, especially on Grebe Road. I drive that road every day. Unless you live there, you have no idea what it's like to make that turn, to hope and pray that they're going to stay in their lane when they make the right-hand turn off of Durham onto Grebe. And that's my main concern. I really came in here open-minded, but for me, and I don't know about anybody else, but it feels very rushed and borderline ill-prepared. And again, I was trying to be open-minded, but then when the comment of, well, we could have put condos in here was brought up, that really kind of upset me, because now you're not being civil anymore. So that's pretty much my take on everything. Adequate is not okay when talking about safety. Absolutely not.
Thank you. Anybody here in the center? Anybody else? Hands up. Where's the hand up?
State your name and your address.
Okay. Hello, my name is Piper. My name is Piper White. I live on 32 Fairlawn Drive, and I'm 8 years old. I am upset because they knocked down all of the old trees, and now all of the animals are homeless. I am sad about the animals. I am sad about the trees because they were part of nature. I learned in 2nd grade that trees make oxygen, and we need that to live, so why cut them down? Plant new trees, not houses. It will not be safe too. I can't walk to my friend Julie's house because of the traffic if the neighborhood is built. Please think about your decisions and how it impacts my childhood.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I don't know how I can follow that. I'd like to move this up a little bit. Okay. Tom Kappas, good evening. Tom Kappas, 4 Killen Road. My property abuts Mr. Wiederman and Sunwood Development's proposal on the north side. I have several concerns with this proposal. I've stated most of those in inland wetlands, but I will keep it to my traffic and safety concerns for the Planning and Zoning Commission tonight. By far, that is my biggest concern with this proposal. I know many of you live in the area or have lived in the area, and you're familiar with this beautiful and old country road that is Grebe Road. This proposal drastically adds to the dangers and limitations that already exist with this old country road. Due to the density of this proposal and Mr. Wiederman's desire to squeeze 13 homes on a 3.5-acre parcel, calls for his cul-de-sac design and the creation of Kyle Court. So this new road, Kyle Court, is the catalyst for many downstream safety issues with this proposal. So I've outlined, I think, 3 of my major concerns with the creation of this new road. One, it's been discussed tonight, he falls way short of the minimum required clearance for roadway entry from an intersection of 250 feet per section 6.2.c of the subdivision regulations. I was out there yesterday morning. I measured, like, I think you said 107 feet. I was, depending, it was like 100 feet. So clearly way less than the minimum requirement. The width of Kyle Court road design would not be conducive to two-way car traffic when you take into account foot traffic, especially with sidewalks that go nowhere around the cul-de-sac. That's a lot of homes to not have foot traffic, especially when you're thinking of children, seniors, especially there'll be younger families there possibly under the affordable housing regulation. So there's no outlet, to the dangerous and busy and narrow road with limited visibility like Grebe Road. So then you start taking into account school buses, garbage trucks, delivery trucks. It's just very concerning to me. And then lastly, with the density and the amount of homes proposed by Mr. Wiederman, there's no way Grebe Road can handle that volume. It'll create extreme bottlenecks, more so than exists today. It's a daily occurrence now, I think some of you mentioned it, where cars are pulling to the side so other cars can pass. Mr. Toscano mentioned, in the winter, that's not even taking into account winter conditions, but, more common than not, for people that are unfamiliar with Grebe Road, they come flying down. I know there's an analysis there that obviously favors the proposal, but it's not based in reality. And I'm sure there'll be another engineering report to counter that, and I'd like to, just like to better understand that. But that common occurrence where people are unfamiliar with this road, it's just not conducive or suitable for two-way traffic in certain spots. My wife, who's here tonight, was in a car accident on Grebe Road, as I'm sure you all know people that have been on car accidents in Grebe Road. Some, so it's, I'm just very fearful that others will be, if it goes forward with the current volume of homes. I understand, it's an existing roadway, but the more volume, the more residents you put in, obviously creates more dangers to an already existing condition. So I can go on and on about issues with this proposal and the complete disregard for safety of this neighborhood with the density of proposal under the guise of 830G, but I feel it's a moot point simply because he doesn't even come close to meeting the minimum required distance at the entryway from an intersection. So I'll just wrap up, but I urge the commission, obviously there's no vote tonight, but to deny this proposal due to the volume of traffic generated by the development and the proposed density levels, which would cause extreme unsafe conditions for motorists and pedestrians based on our own town regulations. Thank you.
Anyone else? One here. Is there anybody else over on this side? There's one back there. Okay.
Hi, I'm Julie Krause. I'm 1168 Durham Road. most of the people here live very close to the intersection, and I run 4 times a week. It's extremely dangerous. I end up jumping in bushes. I have poison ivy on my arm right now. The landscaping vehicles, they take up more than half the road on Grebe. I'm like high-fiving the bus drivers at 7 in the morning because they're right next to me as I run down that road. I take my kids sometimes for runs. We have to go in through the Killen neighborhood because I won't let them go down Grebe. When they ride their bikes to their friends' houses, I have to go with them. I do not trust the cars. I do not trust drivers, distracted drivers. It is completely unsafe now, and to add 26 more cars is not safe at all for our kids. We're already jumping on grass as it is to avoid the existing traffic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Nicole Frank, 8 Fairlawn. I have 2 points from this. My first point is, obviously, I live at the top of Fairlawn, and I have 2 young children. And even at the top of Fairlawn, just the incoming traffic, just to go down to Killen, they're blowing past our house, and it's constantly a battle with the safety. And my mother-in-law and father-in-law live 4 houses down from us, and I worry every day that my children are walking down to my in-laws' house just 4 houses down with this traffic that we currently have. So to say that there's not going to be more of a traffic concern even down Fairlawn, because let's be honest, they're going to cut through Fairlawn. They're not going to take that turn down Grebe. So it's going to be more of a concern and more of a safety issue. Our whole point to buying this house was the love of the subdivision that my husband had for it when he grew up there, and the safety that it had then. And we're already kind of starting to see a decline in that now. So what's to say this isn't going to drastically make it even worse? And my second point is I work in Durham, and I drive through the back way to go down out the back end of Grebe past this property every day. And I have already been almost hit 7 times. That's just counting in the past 3 months of the last school year. And then in terms of the landscaping they have already done, I couldn't get to work. One of the days I had to wait for one of the trucks to move out of the way because I couldn't get past their already issues with the landscaping trucks and the tree trucks and all of the construction things they have already had there. And that corner is unsafe. It is not a proper corner for them to have in and out traffic for a subdivision to be. So I just don't understand where you think that these numbers are coming from, that the traffic and the flow is not going to be there, because 100% it already is, and it's just going to increase with 16 houses, 13 houses, whatever.
Thank you. I think there's one more. Oh. Sorry.
Karen Napolitano. I live at 42 Fairlawn, and my house is directly behind the property that is being built. I'm not saying anything about the houses, but these people up here, these 3 people, do not live in the neighborhood. So for her to say that the people do 15 miles an hour on their study is completely wrong. People do 40, 50 miles an hour down that road. And anybody who lives there knows. You have to, I hit a mailbox that took some flowers off or something because a car was going the other way and would not move over as much as they should have. That was me. I'm sorry. That was me. But, so I don't know, their traffic study, I don't know where it came from. They must have done it in the middle of the night, because I saw those traffic lines there maybe a few hours on a Friday night, and they were gone by Saturday. So if they're saying it's 15 miles an hour, they're absolutely wrong.
Thank you. I'm not seeing anybody else get up, so you're all set. He was trying to get up like 4 times.
Brian Delaney, 1191 Durham Road. All I have to say is I think they're taking a very bad intersection and making a even worse intersection. The traffic is horrendous in that area, especially coming down Green Road. If a fire engine goes into, Kyle Court, and there's a car parked on either side of that road, they're never going to get in without plowing it over. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mary Canfield, 42 Fairlawn Drive. I would like to plead with this council, who are appointed, to do the right thing when it comes to this. I'm not an engineer. I can't talk about that. I was a police officer for 30 years, but I can tell you this. Changing any kind of little thing in that intersection is not going to stop people from doing the speed that they do. It's not going to happen. And as far as fire apparatus, if I were a police officer, which I was in West Haven, had to block off many streets, I would shiver every time I had to drive there with a cruiser and try to block off that street and try to get fire engines down there for a fire. It is not a safe situation. It is not safe for people, cars, or children. It is not going to be safe. You're not going to keep children on that street from going out onto Grebe Road or down, trying to go across the street, and it's going to be a terrible situation. I hate to think of a child getting hit by a car, because they would be killed at the speeds that those people do. So I am pleading with this council to take every thought, every study, every figure, and before you make a decision as to what you're going to do, putting that kind of safety issue in that neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else before we bring it back to the commission? Oh, there's one more.
Good evening. My name is Steve Benben. I'm a professional engineer with Triton Environmental. We're located in Guilford, Connecticut. I was hired by a group of neighbors, Grebe Road and Durham Road, to provide an engineering evaluation of the plans, both during the wetlands application and as well as the P&Z Commission. I don't want to get into a lot of issues tonight. You've heard a lot from the community, upwards of 75 people here. Clearly, there's an issue with the development going in this location from a safety standpoint, traffic standpoint. People that use the road, walkers, bikers, vehicles. It's just not a safe location to begin with. Yes, it is an existing condition. The applicant has said it's not their responsibility to, fix an existing condition. There's a section in the subdivision regulations that does talk about existing streets, and that it is actually their responsibility to provide, a safe access for an existing street, and this certainly would fall into that category. Regardless, I do have other issues, but obviously we're going to be going on to another meeting next month. Likely there's going to be some plan revisions that come along, and reports and emails and different things of that nature. So I guess what I'm really here tonight is just to introduce myself, let the commission know that the community is taking this seriously. They have hired me to provide that engineering evaluation. And we ask as a courtesy to be copied on any additional submittals that come in between now and next month. So to give you an example, we were able to get an electronic copy of the site plans. We haven't received copies of the correspondence or the traffic plans, so I haven't had an opportunity to review those for the appropriateness for that study. For instance, 15 miles an hour for the traffic study. The posted speed limit out there on both Grebe Road and Durham Road are both 30 miles an hour. And listening to everyone here tonight, clearly people aren't driving 30 miles an hour at those intersections. So for the applicant's traffic engineer to say that they did their design based on 15 mile an hour, speed for that area, it's really, there's engineering, design, and then there's, as someone else mentioned tonight, there's the real world application, and is that really appropriate? And I imagine if you were to bump that speed up from 15 miles an hour to something more appropriate, even the speed limit, you're going to see sight distances, stopping distances that really are not suitable for this location. So for them to add, exacerbate the existing unsafe condition, there really should be some additional, study and evaluation that goes into this. So again, I ask as a courtesy, for Sunwood Development Corps, if to be neighborly, I'll say, be good neighbors. If we could be copied, and I can provide contact information if they're willing to share, the full application that's been submitted thus far and any additional correspondence that's submitted to the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public? All right, I'm going to bring it back to the commission and ask if the applicant has anything that they'd want to respond to. They don't have to, but.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we have a very clear idea of what we need to do for the next meeting, and we will. The gentleman who just spoke, sir, if you'll give me your card, I'll send you everything you'd like, and probably more. So we are, otherwise have nothing substantively to add right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Bringing it back to the commission, does the commissioners have any other questions? No? Mr. Pagini, anything on your end?
The police chief was on leave for about a month and a half, so he is back. So we will be meeting with him and the fire marshal and the town engineer to assess next steps.
All right, thank you very much. Anything else? If not, Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Fitzsimmons.
I do have something, Mr. Chairman.
You do have something.
I can't help myself.
I was so close. I was so close.
But I'll end with a motion. The information we received from you was dated last Tuesday. It was Tuesday, the July 2nd or July 3rd, and our meeting is tonight. So I ask between now and the next meeting, give our town staff the time they need to review so we have time to receive their information.
Done.
No question, as I said, I talked about the calendar, so they need time, we need time. So just please make sure we coordinate. So.
Understood. And you understand that July 2nd we were waiting on others. So.
I do. I know the way of the world. Motion?
You can.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I make a motion that the commission continue the application and public hearing for 1136 Durham Road, 830G re-subdivision to our August meeting.
Do I hear a second? Second. Second. All in favor with aye? Aye. Any nays? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
You did a great job. I don't like talking about it. You did a very good job. Only being eight. Great job.
This is your signing moment.
You know what? I thought about that after. I'm like,
What's that?
hey,
No, all he could have done is email my office, or he would have sent him everything, but.
we are now moving on to the next item on the agenda, zoning text amendment, zoning map and zoning text of YLB application 901-24. Can I ask the secretary to read in the minutes? Please,
Thank
not
you,
the
mi-
minutes,
thank you.
the correspondence, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I understood completely.
Oh, okay.
Number 901-24, PZC zoning text and zoning map amendments to section 4.4B, Yalesville Limited Business District. We have correspondence from the Economic Development Commission to the Planning and Zoning Commission dated May 8th, 2024. with proposed amendments. We have an inspection report from the Wallingford Fire Department. Date of inspection 6/18/2024. And I believe that is all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And sorry, I probably should have had you going on first. My bad. Would the applicants like to talk about their application?
Sure. Quick introductions. Don Crouch, Economic Development Specialist, here with Joe Mara, Chairman of the Economic Development Commission. I just want to kind of give you a little history of the YLB and how we got here today. In early May, we had a workshop with Planning and Zoning to talk about the expansion of the YLB zone, both the expansion on the map and some text changes. And then last week, we also held a community conversation at the Wallingford Public Library. We had close to 30 people there, residents from the YLB, and we were able to pretty much give them the same presentation. A little bit of history of the YLB. The Yalesville Limited Business District was created in 1991 to revitalize Yalesville's Main Street and Chapel Street as part of our plan of conservation and development. Yalesville as a village center, to promote the development of Yalesville as a village center, explore the geographic extent of the village area and whether it should include parcels along Route 68 or further west of the current Yalesville Limited Business District, capitalize and foster connections to the linear trail, and use this as a transition zone on 68 from the CA12 to R18. And now Joe's going to talk about what's allowed in the YLB and what's not allowed.
Just to give you some more background, the good thing about this zone, it gives the residents in the area options. First of all, I wanted to back up. For our community conversation, we sent out over 300 invitations to the residents in the area, letting them know about this change. But coming back to the point, the options that the residents have is that what this zone does is if you're living in a private home, you could stay there. It doesn't change anything. If you want to sell it as a private home, you want to deed it to your children, whatever you want to do as a private home, nothing changes. On the other hand, if you wanted to sell it and probably make a little bit more money on it, you could sell it as a business to an attorney, a professional organization. What the public was concerned about is that they didn't wake up one morning and next door to them would be a McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts drive-through. That's not the intent of this zone. It's the character, the personality of the property has to stay intact. The other good point of this is it's in the area that we're looking at. Some of those homes were built in the 1880s, 1900s. Older homes, bigger homes, in some cases going to need expensive repairs. This would give the owners the opportunity to, again, either if they wanted to stay there, do the needed repairs, or sell it as a business, again, whether it be a dental office or what have you. You may be familiar with the homes on 150 in Yalesville. Is that on the screen? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. Modern technology, what a world. Okay, so this is basically what could happen to your home, to the area homes. They'll keep the, again, the personality of the property and just convert it into a business format. It's a limited business, and it seemed that the people that were in attendance were pleased with the presentation, and we answered all the questions. And that's, just so you know, it's a format we're going to try to follow in the future when any major changes and new businesses come to town, trying to have these conversations. So hopefully you guys don't have meetings like this. Thank you.
To go over the map changes, as you can see in the green, that's the expanded area. Most of right above the CA12, that's Route 68, Church Street. So it's about those 11 or 12 properties there that are currently R18, which would move to the YLB. And then on Chapel Street, where the dotted line is, that would expand those properties to make them whole instead of having their property cut in half between the YLB and R18. So really, we didn't want to take anything away from anybody. There was a couple houses on CA12 that people wanted to know why we didn't include them in the YLB, but actually their current uses are more than the YLB allows, so we really just looked at it as more of an expansion and more opportunity for the folks that are currently in the R18 from right past Sunday Afternoon Ice Cream Shop up to Hanover Street and the old Yalesville Library. And then a little bit of text changes with Kevin Pagini will take that part of it.
Minor text changes that were proposed were just changing existing character to architectural features. That's in 4.4B, subsection B, A and B. And then removal of telephone exchange under special permit uses. That doesn't seem EDC no longer saw that as relevant as a use. And number 4, this is probably the biggest change, is to allow new office and multifamily dwelling units. It used to be to remove the located on the east side of Main Streets, subject to still the same requirements. A lot size must be at least 22,500 square feet, and the building must be set back 125 feet from the street line. And that would impact a small number of properties, because currently, as it sits now, office and multifamily dwelling units are only allowed in existing structures. And then there's just some cleanup on the signage part that the zoning enforcement officer didn't feel was relevant and not necessary. And that was it.
That concludes your presentation?
That's it.
All right. Bring it back to the commissioners with any questions? No? No? All right. We'll go out to the public. I'm sorry, first, Mr. Virginia, I know you just kind of did your thing, but how about on from the town planner's side of this? Any other comments?
I just had discussions with EDC for a while on this, and, we discussed a number of different things, but I think these were what they decided on now, and maybe in the future look to allow maybe a couple of more smaller uses. Like right now, salons aren't allowed. To say if someone buys a salon, turns it into an office, you can't go back to a salon. So there's this small things that we looked at in trying to incorporate more of a village feel to it, and I think that's really all we has to say, I guess.
Thank you very much. Anybody from the public would like to come up? Show of hands, please. I was totally kidding. Come on.
How you doing? I'm Kevin McNally, 376 Church Street. I just want to thank all you guys for hearing with us. It's been a long time coming. There's a lot of properties that are right next to the street there, including mine. If a car deviates a little bit, he's in the living room. So it kind of lends itself a little bit more in a way to the commercial side of things. And thanks again to the commission and these guys.
Thank you.
For the record, my name is Jim Wolf. I reside at 396 Church Street. In talking with the neighbors, I really feel that what you're seeing here is a generational change. A lot of the neighbors aren't going to do anything. And I think that's the same analysis we got downtown with the properties. And you know, you get us old people, you're living in your house, you're comfortable. And until the generations change, you're not going to see a lot of changes. But I think these will enhance the whole area. And I thank everybody for their time. No applause, please.
Thank you. Anybody else? If not, we will bring it back to the commissioner. Does any commissioners have any other questions? If not, can I ask for a motion? Oh, you have a comment. Commissioner Fitzsimmons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to be on record as saying I support the expansion of the YLB. I don't think Mr. Wolf was referring to me, but I've been up here so long, I remember voting on the original YLB. So I don't feel like an old man, but I do think seeing the changes in Yalesville, and I think the key word, I was just saying this to someone else today, the key word here is limited. It's not full business, it's limited business, and I think the area has developed appropriately, and I think the expansion of this area makes it's good planning, and so I will be supporting this.
Thank you. Would you like to make a motion now?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, I move that we close the public hearing.
Thank you. Do I hear a second? Second. For this particular application, the members voting, commissioners voting will be Mr. Rivard, Cohan, Fitzsimmons, Sanders, Mr. Parent, and myself. Mr. Allenson is recusing himself for this, so. Six, did I do it wrong?
Right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Need one more now.
Yeah, you go.
Oh, I guess I goofed.
Too many players in the field.
I got too many players in the field. I just got myself in trouble. Mr. Rivard, can I ask you not to vote for this one? I apologize.
I was at the workshop and supported. Back to the bullpen.
Sorry. I got you all warmed up, too. I'm sorry. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, starting with Mr. Cohan.
Yes.
Simmons. Mr. Parent.
Yes.
Commissioner Sanders.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Can I have a motion on the application?
Mr. Chairman, I move the commission approve a zoning map and zoning text amendment to section 4.4B, Yalesville Limited Business District, on enclosed packet from the Economic Development Commission dated May 8th, 2024, because it makes good planning sense for Wallingford to expand the YLB as recommended and requested.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, starting with Mr. Cohan.
Yes.
Mr. Fitzsimmons. Mr. Parent.
Yes.
Mr. Sanders.
Yes.
And yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Could I just say, I want to thank the commission for that, but I want to especially thank Mr. Fitzsimmons for the previous hearing that we had on this, for his professional courtesy extended to the EDC. We do appreciate it. Thank you.
I don't know.
What did he do? Did he have you come first? Was that like me? I should have told you to come earlier.
12 years ago, it's a long story. Thank you.
He had more hair too, you know. I did too, actually. All right, moving on to administrative approvals. Mr. Bergini, you want to take over this? Well, I thought we were going to do it Aquifer after. Finish this up.
All right.
We have to close this meeting, right?
We want to get that guy on the phone. Just tell him.
Kevin, do we want to, there's a gentleman that we're supposed to be getting on the phone in a few minutes?
Yes, we could, you have to just convene as the Aquifer Protection Agency, and
Yeah.
then we can reconvene.
So we can close this.
Got it.
Let's
Okay,
close
okay.
this, and
Sorry.
then we'll just
Yep,
go right
sorry.
to
Okay.
open that one up.
Sorry.
Oh, you want to just do administrative approvals?
Yeah, get that out, and then
Any
can
questions?
we close this meeting and then just open up the
Yeah.
Aquifer, just do it?
Yeah,
easier?
that's fine.
Yeah,
I mean, any questions on the administrative approvals? Questions on June ZBA decisions? The ZBA notice for July 15th, and the zoning enforcement report. Just a quick update, we are in the process of getting an ordinance committee meeting to expand the citation ability. And as always, the zoning enforcement officer is available for questions from the commissioners.
Any comments from the commissioners? Throwing it towards you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to call everyone's attention. There was a correspondence to the Wallingford Town Council Ordinance Committee regarding a support for enhanced zoning enforcement from the EDC. That's just of note. We've talked about it several times, and I don't know if we should, if it's worth us saying anything about it. It seems to be very thought out and follow a lot of things we've talked about, but it's there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So do we want to send a letter?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think it may make sense just to send, if we're in favor of these, maybe to send a 1 or 2 liner, just letting the town council know our support.
I think that.
I don't know that we have to really repeat and do the work that EDC's already done over again.
I think the true chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission would like that.
I agree.
He can write it.
Yeah,
He can sign it.
He can sign it, yeah. You want to vote? You want a
Yeah,
motion?
let's do a motion on that.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission send a letter to the Wallingford Town Council Ordinance Committee similar to the Economic Development Commission's letter supporting the amendment to the town ordinances enhancing zoning enforcement.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries. Thank you. Kevin, any more business?
No,
All
not
right.
at this time.
Then I will ask for adjournment of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor with aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, moving on to the, let's see, where am I? Yeah, we're changing. Like to call to order the, Aquifer Protection Agency for our Monday, July 8th, 2024 meeting. Oh, here it is. Call to order. We have commissioners to my far right, Brian Rivard, Commissioner Jeff Cohan, Commissioner James Fitzsimmons. To my left, Commissioner Steve Allenson. To my farther left, Commissioner Dave Parent. And to my very far left, Commissioner Joe Sanders. And to my very, very far left, we have our recording secretary, Cheryl Ann Tooby, and our town planner, Kevin Pagini. We don't have any minutes, so our first item on the application, and I'd ask the secretary to read in the correspondence for the permit renewal, NRWA LLC 1103 Old Colony Road, application 702-24. Mr. Pagini, how will we be doing the call-in?
There is correspondence from departments, so I would just read it from the top with the in order, and then there is also some correspondence from the applicant, technical documents.
Yeah, I'm going to have him read. The only question is, how do we get the individual that's calling in?
Oh, he was going to call in town government. We gave them the call-in number. So
Hello?
hopefully
Oh.
they,
Hello.
Can anybody, hello, let me interject. My name is Michael Cody. I'm an environmental consultant for Mr. Khan on this. And so I'm connected already.
Okay. Thank you.
You can hear me, okay?
We can hear you. We're just getting started, so I've asked the secretary to read in the correspondence we've received.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a Wallingford Fire Department inspection report. Inspection date 5/15/24. We have correspondence from Jeffrey Cohen to the Planning and Zoning Commission with some comments dated May 18th, 2024. We have email correspondence from multiple commissioners to Kevin Pagini. Start date May 20th, 2024. Additional email correspondence from Jim Seichter to the Planning and Zoning Commission dated May 20th, 2024. We have paper correspondence from Michael Cody to Kevin Pagini, Town Planner, dated June 3rd, 2024. We have a Department of Consumer Protection license for NRWA LLC, expiration date 10/31/2024. Email correspondence from Kim Zapla. I'm sorry if I didn't say that correctly. Dated unknown, but the email before it was May 8th, 2024. Email correspondence from Kayla Williams to Michael Cody, dated May 21st, 2024. Correspondence from Cody Ellers Group to Abdul Khan, NRWA, LLC, dated May 21st, 2024. Email correspondence from Michael Cody to Kayla Williams and Ethan Requart, dated May 17th, 2024. An analytical report from CET, Inc., client Michael Cody. Date of the report, May 17th, 2024. Memorandum to Kevin Pagini, Town Planner, from Aaron O'Hare, Environmental Planner, dated June 28th, 2024. And I believe that is it.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. If you'd like, applicant, please talk about the application before us.
Yeah. All right. So I never done this before. It's my first time.
Speak a little closer to Mike.
So I never did this before. This is my first time. Well, I'm developing this property right front of the Frenchies.
Sorry, do me a favor, just name and where you're from.
Pardon me. My name is Abdul Khan, and the address 1103 Old Colony Road. I live in Glastonbury. Just building this, already built, and everything is done by the compliance and everything. There was little issue for the wetland, which I already took care last 2 weeks ago. And I've been told the gentleman came to visit up there from your commission, and I did the excellent job. So beside that, the station is completely ready. DEP and all the people supposed to be involved in that, they are completely agree and all that. So I need from you guys that, whatever the wetland problem was, I took care of it. And I think Mr. Nekoros, the gentleman came there to check out that how was I did the, as he told me to do. and he said that I did excellent job. And Miss Erin, maybe in the Wetland Commission Director, she said all set, and I have to see you guys.
Okay. Kevin, you want to shed some light?
So I'll just give a brief history of the property. It's a pre-existing gas station before zoning. 2018, he was given a change of use that removed the auto repair allowance. So now he's only allowed, under the Aquifer Protection District, regulated activities to have underground storage tanks and fuel dispensing operation. He did renew his registration at that time. His registration expired in August of 2023. He's now renewing that expired registration for the regulated activities, as I mentioned. He did have an active wetlands violation on the property, which, as he explained, I believe Commissioner Kern went out there, and they are going to lift the violation at the next meeting on July 17th, as shown on your June 28th memorandum from the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission. And he hired a geologist to assist with the scope of work from the State Department of Environmental Energy and Protection, because they also had an existing violation on the property. So I did work with the water quality manager from that department as well to identify what he would need to do to renew that permit, and hopefully, move forward with opening of the gas station. The approval from 2018 is still valid for the change of use, and yeah, I think that's basically it. And I think if we could hear from his geologist, and he also will require a materials management plan, so hopefully his geologist can shed more light as to progress with that.
So it's my turn. I'm speaking blind here. So just like background, my name is Michael Cody. I'm an environmental geologist. I have a firm in Cody Ellis Group in Redding, Connecticut. Just as an aside, for I think it was 2 years back in 2011 through part of 2013, I had an office on South Cherry Street by your water department. I'm an environmental geologist. I've been doing this type of work since 1980. I have a lot of experience with industrial and commercial site characterization studies and subsequent cleanups as necessary.
Excuse me, we're having trouble kind of hearing you. Is there a way you can maybe get closer to the speaker and talk a little slower?
Actually, I have the phone to my ear. Let me just do one thing. Let's see.
I can connect him from here too, so you guys can listen on this phone.
That might work.
I don't know how that'll work.
Is this better?
Better. Do you want to try the cell phone and then have him call back if that doesn't work, I guess?
You want to have him
Yeah.
call him?
Cody, I'm going to call you in a second. You can pick up my phone, please?
Oh, so you want me to hang up now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cody, are you there? Hello? Yeah, Cody, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm going to hand it over my telephone to these commissions, and they can...
Yeah, hold it to the mic.
Okay, so now you can speak, and they will hear it from you.
Okay, just sort of to wrap up my experience, a large component of my work over the years has been involved with gas station work and bulk storage plants and large marine petroleum storage facilities. So I've been working off and on for quite a long time on sites like this. I was retained to help Mr. Khan satisfy one of the requirements of the DEEP Aquifer Protection Group, which was the development of a scope of work that involved basically monitoring groundwater conditions at his property as a component of an approval to allow him to move forward. That document has been prepared. It's just a scope of work that involves the installation of 4 or 5 groundwater monitoring wells, collection of groundwater samples to provide you folks with a sort of a baseline understanding of water quality conditions at the site. As part of the work that I did to prepare the scope of work, I thought it would be a good idea to go out to the site and collect a sample of water in the tank containment area, the tank grave we call it. There are 4 wells there that are used as basically early warning detection devices to should there be a problem with the tanks. Anyway, depth of water is very shallow there. What I did, simply put, was I pumped water for a certain period of time, collected samples, and had them analyzed for certain constituents that are petroleum-based, which are typical from a station that serves both diesel and gasoline fuel to customers. That sampling was done. I think a copy of the analytical report is in that package that I sent to Kevin. And in a nutshell, we analyzed for 4 different constituent groups, and one of which was total lead, 3 of which were petroleum-based, and we found no detections of any of the parameters that we analyzed for, including total lead, that is consistent with what I found when I went out there to inspect the water. There was no evidence of any kind of an odor. There was no sheen. No growth that would be an indicator of any kind of leakage or residual contamination. So, that result is not surprising. In 2018, when Mr. Khan hired, I think it was Sovereign Environmental and a contractor to pull out the old tanks and replace the new. Because depth of water is 3 feet, the contractor had to put in, I believe, sheet piling and do continuous dewatering. They pumped out a total of about 280,000 gallons of water, which in and of itself is a major remedial action, even though that wasn't the intent. The intent was to keep the hole open so they could take the old tanks out and put the new ones in. That served as the basis for preparing the scope of work, which calls for the installation of the monitoring wells that I talked about, and an initial sampling event within a month or 2 of when Mr. Khan gets approved to start up. And then I believe what's going to happen is we're going to end up having to monitor. Kevin might know this detail better than I, but I think we have to do 4 quarters of groundwater sampling in 4 consecutive quarters over the next year in order to satisfy fully the DEEP requirements in their aquifer protection group. Subsequent to that, Mr. Khan and I met with Kevin at his office, and he said was that the town was going to require a hazardous materials management plan. He was kind enough to give me a copy of a print version of I think it was what's called the SPCC plan from the town garage to use as a template. SPCC plans are designed to help basically mitigate the need for any sort of spill containment system at above ground tank sites like your town garage. They're not usually applied to underground storage tanks, but the concepts are the same. So I have Kevin's document. I'm very familiar with SPCC plans. I've prepared, I don't know how many over the years, mostly for industrial and commercial sites. So what I should say that this is also the reason why I'm not there. I would have had this plan done last week, but I had a knee replacement surgery a week ago, and while I thought I could work this week, I really wasn't. I wasn't able to put together the plan itself. So right now, it seems to me, and Kevin, tell me if I'm wrong, is that requirement needs to be met in order to allow the Aquifer Protection Committee and Mr. Khan move forward towards the closure of this process. I
Yes,
think
that's correct.
Is that right, Kevin?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so where I am with this is I understand what the issues are with. I can create a hazardous materials management plan based on the site characteristics and the geologic setting that I think will be acceptable to Kevin. And what I think makes the most sense is not to take up too much of everybody's time. And if I prepare it in draft form, and if this makes sense to you, Kevin, I'll just submit it to you, and you can review it, and we can go back and forth over it till we get to the point where it's finalized, at which point I will have, I can get it's either stamped by a PE that I work with or somebody with the certified hazardous materials manager credential. And I think that would be the last part of what at least my responsibility would be here.
Mr. Bugini,
Does that make sense, Kevin?
it sounds like they're not ready for action tonight anyway.
Correct. He had indicated that he was working on it, so I assumed that he would come with something tonight,
Yeah.
but I guess that didn't happen. So,
Okay.
if the commission has questions, I would ask them now and then.
Yeah, I could bring it back to the commission with any questions. Commissioner Fitzsimmons.
Just one question to the town planner. Do we have an updated memo from the state of Connecticut? Because they're recommending that we give a one-year approval.
Excuse me, sir, are you speaking to me?
No.
No.
Kevin. Town
Kevin,
planner.
Town planner.
No, the updated, the last email I received from them was that he did show proof that he did get the Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection license, and that any approval would be conditioned on completing the scope of work as detailed in the scope of work from DEEP that requires the monitoring wells and the quarterly reports, also the seasonal variations, 1 per quarter. And so once those are completed, they could get a conditional approval. And then once the full scope of work is complete, then he'd receive full approval. So he would be able to operate, but he would have to stay consistent.
Do you have any other questions? I think we'll see you next month. Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question to Mr. Bugini. When we discussed this in February, Commissioner Cohen asked about inspections that we were told they're supposed to be annually, but they have not happened since COVID or resumed at that time due to staffing shortages. This isn't really a question for Mr. Khan. It seems that he's navigating through the right channels and trying to do the right work, but it's a question from our end as a town. Are inspections resuming? What frequency are they happening at? And who's going to be responsible for the inspections as we move forward? Those are the important things to, if we're not ready to address now, to at least address it next meeting.
Oh, they are resuming. I've been speaking to Water and Sewer. Apparently, two of the inspectors that were doing it prior did quit, so they're trying to find new staff. But we are going to be hopefully going out in the next couple of months in coordination with the state to train new inspectors with Water and Sewer Division.
So that would be, if I understand, that's the intent is to resume through
Yes.
water and sewer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners? You have a question?
Yeah, I have a question, but let me just check if he wants to say something. Cody, do you want to say something?
I had a hard time hearing the last part of what was said. The phone is just too far from the speakers. So
I would just say he probably should reach out to our town planner, and he can tell him tomorrow. Probably be easier for him.
Mr. Cody, I think he was talking about the sewer and water and sewer, something like that. So, pardon me about my English. My accent is really.
No, I would just have him call the town planner tomorrow.
Okay.
Mr. Bergini. It'd probably be easier.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that would be easier. I can call him tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm at a meeting in the morning, but I can call him in the afternoon or something.
would it make better sense, since I'm having a hard time hearing, if I spoke to Kevin tomorrow about the summary of items that you need to have addressed?
Yes, I think Kevin is going to call you, or you can call Kevin in the morning.
Okay, is it restricted to the need for the materials management plan, or are there any other questions associated with the operation of the site within the aquifer zone?
It's going to be for Aquifer.
No more questions.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Repeat again.
He was just asking if there were any further questions about the operation.
I would say the commission at this point doesn't. I think we're waiting for him to have a conversation with the town planner so we can kind of move forward with what we need to do. I think what I'd ask is a motion to continue this application to next month.
Mr. Chairman, I move.
If there is any, I can say something.
Hello?
Yeah, Cody, hold on a second. So, as for the DEP required to do the water testing and all that, so Mr. Cody is going to do that, like for 4 times, in 2 years or in 1.5 years. Then beside that, I have already Aquifer certification since like 4 years, which expired August 2023. Then I applied, and I already applied with Mr. Kevin. Basically, station is complete, and my question from you guys is, whatever is the requirement is not coming in my way to open this station, because the station is completely ready. Mr. Cody, whatever he is going to do is all the water testing and everything after I open this station, so I can make some money. To be very frank,
right?
I am completely dry. I don't want to cry here, but the thing is, like, I don't know, I have to say it's proper to tell you guys that, I have no money for next month. Believe me, so I'm that dry. So, I don't know.
Mr. Khan,
it's very
Khan.
embarrassing. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Khan, tell the commissioners that what the DEEP approved was, and this was Kayla Williams and Kim Cheska. Kim is in the Aquifer Protection Group. Kayla is in the remediation group at DEEP. They approved the scope of work with the understanding Kim granted a conditional approval, and the condition is that we undertake the installation of the monitoring wells and conduct the first round of groundwater sampling in order to understand water quality on your property as it flows toward the river within 2 months of opening the store, rather than to do it in advance of opening the store.
Commissioners, any comments? Commissioner Cohen?
If you want.
You haven't talked very much, so I'm going to you first.
I tried to limit it tonight. For the way I read this is, it sounds like Mr. Cody is doing the right thing as far as satisfying DEEP, and that's going to be cleared up very soon.
Yes, sir.
The only thing I think we're lacking ourselves is the aquifer protection license for the town of Wallingford, which, the water sewer department technically has to review and sign off on. Quite frankly, you can operate without it, but we would like to have that signed off on. Is that correct, Kevin?
Technically, our renewal and registration goes to the state, so technically the state wouldn't sign off unless we did, so he still
Right.
wouldn't be allowed to operate. But
But just so I'm clear, though, that we haven't done it because we don't have, to your point, we don't have the staff that is supposed to be doing this?
correct, yeah. But the state also did the inspection on his property, so they went through the checklist, they made sure, and he's missing the material management plan, which is a pretty key component because of obviously spills and whatnot, so they found everything else to be in compliance besides the groundwater monitoring and the materials management plan.
That can be provided to you guys maybe tomorrow, day after tomorrow, even though I have right on my telephone, I can read it for you. My English is not that good as you can say, but I can let you read it just for 1 minute. You can read it and you will see what I have done, and that is the plan. Is right here. I can show it to you.
It's not the plan. This is just an outline.
Yes,
of
exactly.
Components of the plan that need to be put in the format that's acceptable.
Yeah, I can give it to you guys, Mr. Kevin, like tomorrow, day after tomorrow. And only my concern, to be very frank, in front of you guys, I never did it. I'm so confused. Look like I'm front of the State Department. So I need to be open my station. So I'm like
Commissioner Fitzsimmons.
If I might, I'm trying to figure out.
Yes,
and
yes.
To me, because you're before the Aquifer Protection Agency, right? That's what we are right now. I don't think we have enough documentation to approve tonight. That's what I think. So I would be in favor of continuing this to our August meeting to allow the gentleman on the phone and yourself and Kevin to submit something to us so we have all the documentation and we could reconvene in August, if I understand correctly. Kevin, you allowed it to come forward expecting to get something which we didn't get. Is that correct?
Yes, he had came in and said they were set to go, so.
I get you. Yeah. So, and to be fair to you or everyone else who sits in that chair, those are our rules. Like, we can't let people do things without.
No, I don't mean that.
No. But I'd like to help you. I just.
No, thank you.
But I would be in favor of making a motion to continue this to our August meeting to allow you, the gentleman on the phone, and the town planner to get all the required documentation.
Can I don't know how to talk with, to be very frank. Basically, I am asking that plan which you guys needed. I can give it to you by day after tomorrow in 2 days.
Next week here.
Next week, within a week. Within a week. Sorry for that. And I don't know, Kevin. I'm so sorry for that. You know that when I come to his office, I don't know what the hell. I need this gentleman who's there, because, it's very hard to choose the wording which I have to explain to you guys, for me. So I will be requesting not to take it to the all the way more next month. I will give it to the plan to Mr. Kevin, and you can approve it, so I can.
Abdul, ask them if we can get the plan to Kevin next week, can we, and assuming we can get it finalized and approved by Kevin, can we then go, I think there's a meeting on July 17th.
No, that's a wetlands meeting, so it would have to be August.
Can you approve if you'll get the copy?
No.
Even though. No, I understand you guys have something to do, but.
The only thing we can do is continue it.
Mr. Chairman, I move the Aquifer Protection Agency continue the application for the permit renewal for NRWA to our August meeting.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Comments, Mr. Commissioner Sanders?
This may be my newbie question of the day, but is it possible and appropriate to have a contingent approval?
Please.
Mr. Khan, ask Kevin when I can talk to him tomorrow.
Yeah, he's going to talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah,
That's
what
what he
time? Can we set up a time now?
Commissioner Allenson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Khan, I totally understand what you're asking, and I understand what Mr. Cody's asking, and I know there's a little bit of delay on paperwork. The problem that we have is if it's not tonight, the next time is, the soonest we can get to it is August. And because the paperwork is not here tonight, I don't know, and I don't believe that this commission can give you an answer that you want to hear tonight. So the only thing we can do is push it off to August, because in August, when we have all the paperwork, if all the paperwork looks good, then we can hopefully give you the answer you want to hear. But based on what we have tonight, I don't think any of us, if you force us to vote on your application tonight,
not forcing.
I don't think it's going to be what you want to hear.
Oh, thank you so very
So,
kind.
so I think the next time we can do it is going to be in August, in the August meeting. So I understand what you're asking for, and, if I had the magic wand and a crystal ball, we could make all things possible, but I don't think we can do it. And I think we're doing everything that we can to try and help you, sir.
Oh, okay. So I will, as Mr. Cody is saying that within a week, you guys get the paperwork. Mr. Kevin is going to speak to him tomorrow.
And we're going to continue it to August.
In August, what date, sir, is going to be?
When's our August?
I believe it's August 12th, I think.
Yeah, it's August 12th.
Uh-huh. Okay. If I died, please.
We hope that doesn't
No,
happen.
the thing is only what happening is like, I don't have money, and the mortgage payment, they are just trying to, kill me, to be very sorry to use this word, but I don't have a payment to pay my bill.
Yeah.
Sorry for that. Please don't give me, but I will work it out as I am trying so far. Thank you very much for you guys.
Thank you.
Very kind
Thank
of
you.
you.
Can I call for final vote? All in favor signifying by aye.
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 Nays? Abstentions? Motion carries to continue to August.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very kind of you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Cody, I'll call you from our.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn this meeting of the Aquifer Protection Agency.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Mr. Cody, I'm going to call you like in 5 minutes.